Hello, wild ones. This is Dark Moon Chiron, the little corner of the universe where together we illuminate the secrets of your dreams, your subconscious, and your forgotten self. This is a storytelling dream interpretation podcast, and I'm your guide, Megan Rose McMullen, the Wild Dream Sorceress. This podcast is structured in 3 parts. Beginning the dream journey, I share the story of a sleeper's adventure. Whether the dream is my own or one that was submitted, I speak in first person for anonymity because let's face it, sometimes our dreams can be quite wild. Once we follow the dreamer's quest entirely, we decipher each piece of the labyrinth, unlocking new levels of consciousness along the way. Then the enchanted tale ends with an intuitive reading on the inner workings of the hero's psyche, hopefully leaving you, the listeners, with a new understanding of the innate magic and power that lies inside the hidden world within each of us. Allow the story to transform your ordinary waking lives into your wildest dreams. Or at the very least, strap in and enjoy this imaginary ride. Are you ready to get wild? Goddess Freyja. I stand hovering in an old bar from my hometown, Gemma Jane's. I had my college graduation party here. The cinder block walls are painted. The white is dingy, cracked, and peeling. It's bright, even though there's only 2 windows on the southeast side of this room. The north wall is an out-of-order talent stage. The east wall is tall stacks upon stacks of brown vinyl chairs and stools. I'm surrounded by loved ones. I realize very quickly that no one can see me. I have an eerie but humorous thought of being like Casper the Friendly Ghost, which makes me laugh because just as I think this, I find myself standing to the right side of my mother and best friend, shouting at them, trying to get their attention, not out of desperation, but out of concern that they are forgetting me. New information floods my thoughts. I'm attending my own funeral. It's not a solo one. I share my funeral with 2 other dead souls. My best friend Mariah is writing down adjectives about who I was as a human being while my mother watches quietly. I believe they have missed a key personality trait. I continue yelling and shouting, empathetic, empathetic. It is laughable, I think, not only because it's vain, but I know they can't hear me. It's now apparent that although I believe that I was empathetic, no one remembers me that way. Otherwise, someone would have written it down. What did I care anyway? I am no longer of that world. I smile inwardly. A freedom and giddiness from the whole experience washes over me. I wander around, taking in the bar, looking at sad faces, take a seat on a bar stool near the wall of chairs. As I go to sit down, a glitch occurs in the matrix. A static splicing of 2 unique scenes merge, flash before my eyes, and then disappear. In the first one, I was just about to sit down on a bar stool, while the other one, I was just about to sit down in the ocean. The divergence came when in the first I was about to sit on a Dorito chip, while it would have stabbed me in the butt cheek, and the second would have been a broken seashell as I waded into the water. This bizarre occurrence, on top of the fact I was just attending my own funeral, made me realize that this was in fact a dream. Immediately after the knowledge of it all being a dream came to the forefront of my mind, I began floating from the room like I was being pulled by an unknown force. Leaving the bar room, I enter in a white hallway where a set of giant wooden doors loom over me. Before I know it, I'm shouting into the empty space, Goddess Freyja, I would like to. A voice out of nowhere, not my own, states, you must declare that it's a dream, and then you can command it the way you want. Accepting this as truth, I start again. As I declare, this is a dream. The large doors begin to creak open. I finish my statement humbly. Goddess Freyja, may I request an audience? I emerge through the doors into a grand ballroom. It is draped in deep red tapestries, worn gold plates, trinkets, and tassels upon tassels. I am both excited and speechless with awe. There's a nervousness building in me, not quite yet, fear. Come in, child, a divine being I immediately know is Freyja commands. I am guided by this invisible, unknown energy. I continue to float towards the table in the center of the room where she and others are seated. I have impeccable manners. I feel sheepish in the presence of a goddess. My brain starts to worry that maybe I, a mere human, should not, in fact, be calling on a goddess so nonchalantly. It is too late. A plan is already in motion, unbeknownst to me. I bow my head slightly towards her without directly looking at her. The words tumble out of my mouth in a form of a question. What is the point of lucid dreaming? This surprises me. I'm not aware I wanted to know this. I wasn't even cognizant I had a question in the first place. Without touching my chin, she lifts my head so that I'm looking directly at her and states, "To do the things you don't want to do," she smirks. It's the perfect mix of integrity and mischievousness. I take in her face for a moment. Her reddish brown hair is long. It's beautifully tousled as if she'd just gotten off a horse after a long journey. She's draped in deep blood red dress made of velvety materials, a matching cape around her shoulders. Disappointment and confusion stirs within me. I look at my hands. I didn't have a gift to give her as an appreciation for freely giving me her attention, although I'm not sure why I knew this was an appropriate behavior, so it muddles my brain. A mysterious answer to my unconsciously asked question. Then, with the smoothest flick of her wrist, I am slingshot backwards, pulled towards the exit. I feel the presence of guards, yet I cannot see them. I know if I resist the force pulling me out of the ballroom, the guards will be on me instantly, forcing me out, if not killing me. I stumble backwards out the way I came, and as I pass the doorways, they slam shut. I spring out of bed, wide awake as electricity courses through my veins. Hello, I just want to talk about how you can support this podcast if you enjoy this podcast. I know I enjoy making it and I want to make more. Plus, I have more educational pieces and I want to give people the opportunity for their own dreams to be on this podcast. So if you want to support this podcast, you can obviously do that by liking, sharing, commenting, leaving a review, subscribing. And you can also, did it say commenting? You can comment again, and again. But I want you to know that if you like this podcast and you cannot wait for episodes to come out when they're dropped to the public, but you want them beforehand, then I got a special for you. We have VIP access to this podcast. We got two options. We have the Dreamer option, which is not only do you get the episodes a month before the public, but you also get exclusive episodes that aren't aired to the public. And then you get to be part of the Dreamer community, which is like a club that meets every 13th of the month to discuss all things, discuss all things dream related. If you have questions, you maybe want to know a little bit more about a specific episode or what things are showing up in your dreams or how to become a more advanced dreamer, we got that for you. Every month on the 13th we meet, and you're going to get that as part of your access as a VIP. The second option is the Oracle one. Woo! So the Oracle VIP access is you get everything that the Dreamer access gets, but you get one more. You get one monthly mini reading where you can send your dream in via email and you'll get a response back every single month. You get 13 for, if you buy the annual Dreamer pod or the Oracle podcast, you get 13 for the price of 12. But if you just get the monthly subscription, you get one a month. That's awesome. And so that's how you can support the podcast as well. And I want you to know that I love doing this for you all. I love this podcast. I love doing it. I have so much in store for educational purposes, for psychology and the unconscious and conscious. I just love making this, and I'm really excited too because we're about to drop podcast readings. So that means that you can buy a podcast reading where you submit your dream into me and my team, and we write them up and we get them back out and we read it anonymously. And when you have a podcast reading, we send you the episode. You get it with everyone else. And you get a reading on the podcast. In order to do that, we have to get this podcast shared, get some followers. And I just want you to know that that is one way that you can support this podcast. And I just want to appreciate you for listening and taking the time, because I totally enjoy this. And I'm super, super grateful for the opportunity to be sharing my passion with you all. So part 2, this is where we take some key points and we break them out. There's a breakout sheet on our website that has a few things, transitions or parts or sections. You get the viewpoint, the lighting, the location, timeline, people, their identities, positive and negative traits. You got things and items and archetypes, feelings, phrases, themes, additional notes, and then the final interpretation on this page, these pages from the website. I could pull out so many things. Oh my gosh, when I was interpreting this dream, it's like full of stuff. So I kind of just going to pull out a few, because again, I could just excuse me. I could just go on forever, and there's so many different layers and parts. So I broke it. So first I want to just say that I usually like to do what kind of dream it is. So I identified it as an extraordinary dream that goes into a lucid extraordinary dream, and there's possible astral travel. I've divided it up into 4 sections. It could be 3 depending on, and I'll get to that, but I decided 4. So I had the first, which is the funeral scene, the second, which is the glitch part, the third, which is the hallway, and then the fourth, which is Goddess Freyja. And I think you could have probably combined the funeral and the glitch together, since the scene didn't really change per se. You just got the glitch. Excuse me. And so that's kind of what I broke it up into. So the first part of the funeral is the extraordinary dream part, because we're not I'm not aware of being in the dream until the glitch happens, and then after the glitch I become aware, and that's the part where it transcends into lucid dreaming. Then you're in a hallway, and that hallway is basically kind of like the light before, going towards the light, or the white light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. It's kind of like a hallway. That's kind of the passageway or the portal into the astral travel. So I definitely think that is for sure, especially since in the first part of the dream, I was very nonchalant. I was free. I was feeling, humorous. And then all of a sudden, when I finally call out Goddess Freyja and get there, I start to become very humble and kind of fearful or worrying about I'm meeting this goddess. And so the energy kind of changes. And so it feels like maybe that's really what astral travel is. There's a portal to Goddess Freyja's realm. And so I think that's really cool. So in the beginning, the first scene at the funeral is a participant and an observer at the same time, which is the viewpoint, because you're a ghost. So you're not really engaging with the scene, but you are part of the scene, right? So I'm shouting, trying to get the attention of my mother and my best friend, but I'm also humorously kind of wandering about, observing. That's kind of a dual. So that's kind of cool. It's bright, it's daytime, which kind of represents consciousness. So it's about awareness. There's total awareness of this. So I would definitely say that there's an awareness because of the light. Then you go into the observer, which is a glitch. I think this is super cool because in the lucid dream part, a lot of suggestions if you want to do lucid dreaming is when you're in a dream, noticing the things that are off, like basically can indicate like, oh, this is a dream. I would never XYZ, or these aren't my hands. Like that can tell you that it's a dream. And then you can use that awareness to then state that it's a dream. Or start playing or whatever in the dream as a lucid dream. So I think that's kind of cool. We don't really know the lighting of the second part of the glitch. So I'm going to say that's probably a little bit of a mix because as you start to go, it gets darker, right? So it starts off daytime. You have the glitch, which is kind of weird. It's kind of overcast, probably. And then there's dingy light but there's a spotlight on the door. They're like looming over, they're bright. And then you go into the ballroom, which is the lighting is bright enough to see, but like ballrooms are normally dark. Plus, you have all that deep red coloring and the dark worn golds and stuff like that. Like it's a little darker, not super dark because obviously you see all the details, but still darker than the very first scene, which tells us a story from awareness to like less awareness, going from darkness or like consciousness to unconsciousness, right? And it's really indicative too, because in the first part, there's a lot of awareness of like, oh, this is my funeral and things are keep going. And I think that I'm part of it. And then they're floating around. And then the more and more things are happening and being pulled, but you're unknown. There's a lot of unknown forces. So anyway, we're at the bar funeral. Some additional information is that the dreamer has been to this bar before. It's college graduation party, and in drinking days around 20, 21, 24 years old. That's a timeline there. So we've got to keep that in mind. Yeah. And then there's like a big emphasis on the best friend, but the mother's there quietly watching kind of off to the background. And then the word empathetic is super big, super prominent. Like that was what was being shouted. I think it's kind of interesting too. In the same part, we can pull out of the Dorito chick is kind of interesting. And then the ocean and the broken shell, like that seems like a memory, but like at the same time, we don't know yet. We haven't got to that part. And then it moves into the hallway. Excuse me. And then like to me, there's a sense that there's someone else in the room, but that you can't really hear because there's a voice. Like you literally hear a voice that you know that it's not my own. And it tells you, it's guiding you. It's telling you like what it is. So I think that's really kind of cool. The white hallway, which is interesting because the white wall from the bar, there's a lot of white that needs to be pulled out of there. And then you got the looming doors, like almost like it's a portal, right? Again, still being pulled, floating like along, not really having this. Then you start to get that shift as soon as Goddess Freyja like beckons the dreamer in. It's like this, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Kind of feeling humble, sheepish, still floating. I think it's kind of interesting that there is the seats and the chairs were seated. She takes a seat on I take a seat on the bar stool, and then she points and then she says, I say that the table is at the center of the room where they're seated. It's like a lot of like chairs and seated references and stuff like that. So I think that that's interesting. I also think too that we should pull out the phrase in the very beginning where it's like, I'm no longer of that world. I think that's kind of like foreshadowing, which is interesting. Foreshadowing in a dream, you know what I mean? You got the two stages. You got the ballroom stage, and then you got the out of order stage, which is interesting. And stages are where we like play parts, you know what I mean? she's indicating the directions. So she was like the east side, the south side, and the north side. She was pointing to all of them. They're all there. And I think that's kind of interesting. Red. So when you're in the ballroom, there's a lot of red, repetitive red, gold, dark golds and stuff like that. And I didn't say, but the three parts of the soul, the Trinity, like it's her funeral and two other souls. I think that that's interesting. The Trinity is super big. So there's some humor, some humility, some worry, empathetic was one, like unconscious question. I think those are some really good ones. So some additional information about the dreamer. We got the bar information. Also, they went to the ocean when they were a little girl, around fourth grade. That was the first time, somewhere around 9 and 10. They said so just to point out that we have the identities and the archetypes of the mother, the best friend or friend, and goddess. The mother is waiting, which is interesting. The friend is writing, and the goddess is like answering this question, and she's both has integrity, so you can trust her, and she's a little mischievous, so like playful energy again. The dreamer said that she didn't know anything about goddess Freyja before she had this dream, and that based on the information that she now knows, that she thinks that I should know that her favorite number is 13 as well, which is all part of the getting to know goddess Freyja. So I think I've really pulled out the main points that I think. There are so much more details in this, but I could go on for this forever. So I'm not going to, because let's get to the good stuff. So it's interesting because goddess Freyja is actually the goddess of Friday the 13th. She's associated with Friday. She's not of the 13th, but she's associated with Friday the 13th, which is associated with sex, war, gold, love, beauty, fertility. Goddess Freyja is usually riding around in a chariot, has two cats, a boar, and then she's usually cloaked in falcon feathers. And 13 is associated to good luck, the divine, prosperity, and change. This person's birthday reason that their favorite number has always been 13 is because that's their birth date. Has always loved Friday the 13th. Super interesting. And so basically for me, the interpretation kind of goes from light, so awareness, to the unknown, right? Everything is in the awareness. I'm knowing that it's my funeral. I'm not really upset. I know that I'm not of this world anymore. Things are kind of humorous and playful, lighthearted, kind of just observing. There's a glitch. I know it's a dream. Moves into the hallway, which is the portal into the next realm. And so for me, I think this is really important because this dream is telling you specifically, like, lucid dreaming is important to your life. Like, dreaming is something that you should really look into. Goddess Freyja is something that you should look into. Dreams are important to your story. So do a deep dive into dreams, what they mean, record your dreams, start on your dream journey. And there's also, I think it's really cool because it talks about the directions. And most people don't really like use the directions when they're telling a story, because most people don't really know. And this is like very there's shamans who talk about the four winds, and they talk about the south wind, the east wind, the north wind, the west wind, or whatever. And so I think that this is important because in the east, which is where the bar stools are, it deals with the eagle, condor, and hawk, which is the higher realms, which is interesting because she wears literally falcon feathers on her cape. and it's talking about higher realms, right? And again, we go back to that, like, no longer of this world. And if this is the kind of awareness that you have, it takes a lot of awareness energy to have lucid dreams, to have astral travel. So that means you're really powerful in your power. So it's really important to start like really honing that and getting used to that. And I would say that like powerful dreams could lead to a lot of dream work in the future. So like doing powerful things, like the Toltecs believe that when you're doing lucid dreams, you can go through these gates of dreaming and create your own destiny, and you can build these things, and you can, whatever you dream into being in your dream world, you can bring it into the waking world, such as, you know, abundance and growth and like skills from like the Akashic records. And, you know, so if you feel like that is something that you lean towards and believing and that resonates, for sure. One, when we have a death, we no longer have to play the roles, right? Which is the stage. So I would think that there's an older version of you specifically linked to age 9, 10, and 21 to 24, probably dealing with drinking. And that this part of you is either has died or is about to die in a shedding kind of way, and that this is going to help you move into the next part of your life, right? So we're going from the hallway into this new room that was just decked out in abundance, and you know, it's still fun, but like very full of like you know, gold and trinkets and plates and stuff like that. So I think that that's kind of what the death is signifying in the stage. And so I guess my thing would be do some shadow work. Think about what happened at age 9 and 10 that also is connected to 21 to 24. Specifically, maybe some kind of drinking, you know, kind of thing, since it was at a bar. And how is it related to your current situation? Like, what's going on in your current situation? And then how do they relate? Like, what's the relate? Like, how does it relate? And like, can you use any of those things? Then when you also are doing this, look at the traits that you list, the positive and negative traits of your mother and best friend, and use them to see how that also relates to these specific times, like doing the shadow work. Like, how can you use these traits to you know, use them as invitations to move forward out of your situation that you're currently having. This is to me is an awesome dream. It's a powerful dream. And really, I would be interested to hear what comes after these dreams, because this dream is so powerful. It's an extraordinary dream led to a lucid dream and astral travel. That takes an advanced dreamer. And if you don't feel like an advanced dreamer, you got to take my course, because really that would be a really helpful thing. But yeah, do some shadow work. Try to dive deep into more dreaming stuff, lucid dreaming, goddess Freyja. Seems like dreams are really important to your story, which is great. That's why we started off with this story, this dream in our first episode. I love it. And then, of course, more of the things is what parts of yourself can you accept and move forward with, so that you can shift into this higher realm, this meaning the higher next expression of who you are. And maybe look into the Norse mythology and really own your goddess energy. I think that that's really it. So I hope that helped. I hope that this is the first episode and you guys all enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so I think that I hit all. So I don't know if you heard this, but we have a monthly meeting that shows up every 13th of the month, where you can drop in and we can discuss everything dreams, dream content, dream meanings. How do you know the shadow work, anything like that? We talk about it, and we meet every month, and you can be a part of this group. You can drop in what it is. You can buy 3-month packs, 6-month packs, annual. It's there. And this community loves dreams. And so you're never going to be like, hey, guess what I dreamt last night? And someone's not going to go, oh God, don't tell me again what you dreamt like that. Nope, not here, not in this community. We love dreams and we want to hear all about it. So if you want to, drop in the show notes in the description
and be a part of the dream group.
Thanks for listening to Dark Moon Chiron. I hope you found what you're looking for and enjoyed the ride. If you'd like to share your dream adventures with the world, please head over to our website, darkmoonchiron.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, there are multiple ways to donate and support us. You can find them in the show notes. All content shared in this podcast is copyrighted by Dark Moon Chiron Incorporated 2022. All rights reserved. None of its content can be used without prior authorization. So until next time, dream big and be wild.